We're very excited that we're going to be having opera this fall here in the Santa Cruz area. And today I want you to meet the woman who has made all of this possible for us, because she has worked very hard to bring it to us. Her name is Bonnie Liebmann, and this is your second 50 years.
Before today even passes, or a month, then years, time has a way of getting away, and that's for certain, my friend.
So I'm talking with Bonnie Liebmann, who is, in effect, I guess, helping to put on this opera in the fall here in the Santa Cruz area. Bonnie, how did this come about?
Well, we had no showing of the opera at all here. And
Right.
I found that very frustrating because we are directly in between San Jose, which has 3 theaters showing the opera live, and one in Monterey. So after needless trips up and down over the hill, up and down the coast, and getting caught in traffic to catch an early Saturday performance, because we're live.
Did you go to some of these then?
Never made it.
Oh, okay.
So about 15 months ago, I think that's what we've calculated. And one more failure going over Highway 1. I just said, I can't take this anymore, and I'm going to see if I can't do something about it. Well,
therein starts the story.
So therein starts the story. It was my New Year's resolution. In fact, that's one of my key words when I hook into the mat. When I use the word resolution. Yeah. At any rate, I called the Met right after New Year's and managed to get to the people that were doing the HD. And they were very welcoming. And I said, how do I go about this? And they sent me faxed me some information that I would show to some movie owners.
The theaters, right?
The theater owners, right. And if they could get what was needed to keep it up to snuff, and they might have to, put in a little money in their own pockets or get it from the city. I wasn't sure how that was going to be done.
Because it would be on the big screen, but they also had to have the sound.
A whole bunch of prerequisites that were very important to them. And so that every theater is the same, and every now and then you'll hear somebody say it sounds better someplace else, but that's impossible because everything has to meet the standards. So, of course, I went for the art theaters in this beautiful town, and my first choice was the Del Mar.
Okay.
And the Del Mar they were wonderful. People in charge, Jim and Scott, that own it, and he immediately took to the idea and told me that, they could just see it coming back to life as a theater again,
And they have one of the largest auditoriums there, don't they?
And it's Art Deco, and it's so perfect for opera, the way we think of opera.
Of course.
But, I want to get to that about the younger generation, and
yes,
where I see this going later. But, so we sent in everything, and the city said they would spend the necessary money to get the satellite. They would do the satellite. And the theater said they would come up with the money for a projector that was wonderful. Then they put together a beautiful booklet, and the mayor signed a letter, and we sent it. And we waited, and we waited. And I tried, not having been in sales all my life and doing other things, I tried not to be too pushy. So I couldn't call them constantly, but I wanted to know hitherto, where did this mail go and what do they think? And
sure.
Well, it took about a month and a half until they finally came back after they said, we're going to call you, don't call us. And so at that point, we found out that the major theater company that ran all of the Met's HD broadcasts was a conglomeration that had done 95 of placing percent of placing the operas in theaters throughout the United States. And they put it finally in writing that no other theater would be accepted except one of theirs.
And that was that
well,
Regal?
Luckily for us, I went in with the Regal people.
Yeah.
But it's really owned by a national media. And they now have 17,000 theaters in the world. So we know just putting in an average of 400 or 500 people in each, how worldwide it is just so amazing. It's a 50-seated theater in New Zealand that gets live from the Met because it's one of their theaters.
Wow.
You think of the...
Yes.
So they wrote this, and then they called me and they said, look, we're really sorry, that theater is beautiful and we would have liked that too, but we have to go with this company because they've got all our interest at heart, you know, and have done so much for us. I guess when the Met came up with the idea, these people flew with it.
Sure,
And
it's wonderful.
they're really in the movie business, then you know that because you and I both went to a performance at a 9-plex theater that is all movies.
Yes, it's the
So,
Regal here
yeah,
in
that's-
Santa Cruz,
yeah,
right?
and we do have two.
On
and
Pacific Avenue, yeah.
and one on River Street is theirs too.
Oh, yes.
And they chose the large one, and in the end they came out unbeknownst to anybody to see if they could fix a certain problem that they had had with that theater before, that none of us knew about.
Oh.
Except living downtown here in Santa Cruz, we have found that reception is very, very dull here, put it mildly. And we've tried all kinds of antennas to get our music, which we love so much, up to par, and it's just not good reception. And we never put the two pieces together that Santa Cruz, for satellite, is like a sinkhole.
Well, what
So
were
what
the ones?
happened was they had gone to the Regal Theater to have a boxing match brought in by satellite many years ago. And they had to return everybody's money. It
Oh.
didn't work. So, as I say, unbeknownst to us, they sent out their engineers for a field trip. And I guess they came back and said, you know, if it means putting up another cable so that we can hook our satellite to it, that's all we need to do now. We didn't know that, you know, then, and we didn't have HD then.
Yeah.
So they completely refurbished, in the sense of their equipment, 2 of the 9 theaters in the Regal, because not knowing what the audience capacity could be, and yet getting so many letters from Santa Cruzans and others, and the mayor saying this is a town that loves music.
Obviously, yes.
Well, they had to see that for themselves, so opening 2 smaller theaters was a wise thing to do. And of course, the first night here, I was not here, but I was told an entire theater amount of people were sent away. And so we're talking
It was
about,
full, and it was, yes, sold out.
so 200
Completely sold.
people were turned away, or 180, how many that little theater had in it. Now they've gone to the bigger theater, which is, I think, 300 people. But I am convinced that when the real season starts, they're going to have to keep them both open. I mean, I knew many music lovers in this town,
Yeah.
but I certainly I couldn't speak for that many more. So I would get in touch with the Italian restaurant Bocce
Yes.
here in town and ask them if they have any. They have bocce, they must have many. I played very naive. And I said, you might have many, many Italian people coming who love their opera. Oh, yes, they said, we certainly do, and I can give you a few numbers now. So I then got in touch with I guess it is called the San Francisco Opera Society, Italian Opera Society, and I got a man on the phone by the name of Luigi, and he said, "You bring her the opera, we bring her the people." And so